understand what we're doing. All right, let's do it.
All right, here we go. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All right, go ahead, Mubarak.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. تفضل شيخ.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the R2F show. Return to Fitra. We are a channel that we produce content to try to help combat spiritual abuse, which includes financial abuse, sexual misconduct, physical abuse, living in cult environments and escaping cults. And that's what we do. Warning to anybody that's watching this, either now or later, that we are going to be talking about sensitive topics that are related to spiritual abuse. So this may be triggering to anybody that has experienced this or has any experiences related to spiritual abuse. So we just wanted to put that warning out there. If you need any resources, if you are a current victim, past victim, or know anybody that this sort of thing is happening to, we have resources in the description of the video that you could access to kind of point you in the right direction to kind of get these addressed. For anybody that has kind of recovered or is recovering from their spiritual abuse, no matter what type of spiritual abuse that is, and they feel that they will benefit by telling their story and sharing their experience with others, because I tell you that when you do share your experiences, it does help others as well that are going through the same thing. You're welcome to contact us, Return to Fitra. We do interviews. We talk to people about this, even privately, even if you don't want to come online. If you want to talk to us about how to navigate through some of these difficult experiences that people go through, contact us. Our email's in the description. It's email r2f@gmail.com. That's email r2f@gmail.com. And with that, we're gonna jump right in and try to cover this quickly and as purposely as we possibly can. This is related to the Wisam Sharif scandal, and the one that we're going to talk about is how leaders in our institutions, our Islamic institutions in our Ummah, particularly in the West, are responding to situations like this. And anybody can chime in whenever you feel like it. In general, we're not going to go into detail about the Wisam Sharif situation. We want to make sure that we respect the rights of every individual. That includes victims primarily, first and foremost, but also the accused as well. Because in this situation right now, as we stand, Wisam is accused of something. He has charges. He's been arrested for allegations of sexual misconduct and sexual abuse, possibly. So this is the situation that led to us talking about this and bringing people's attention to something that's actually more serious. A larger issue is going ahead, and not just trying to get clickbait or get clout or just bring people to our channel using Wisam scandal and the potential victims in that scandal just to bring attention to ourselves. We're trying to bring attention to something that we feel is plaguing our Ummah and that needs to be addressed. And I'm going to turn over to Mubarak a little bit just so we can kind of maybe cover in general about, like, so if someone asks the question, what is happening with Wisam Sharif and what is the scandal?
So, like, if someone, can you hear me? All right.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, good. So, like, if somebody, first of all, if anybody is, as far as Muslims, first and foremost, as Muslims, if anybody is accused of a crime, then they are innocent until proven guilty. An accusation does not also carry an indictment, and just no judge, jury, and executioner. So, as Allah says, "Hatu burhanakum in kuntum sadiqin." So, bring forth your proof, your evidence, if you are truthful. Now, this does not mean that we are taking one side or defending the the possible abuser, or jumping just on the side of the accuser. We are taking the information at face value. And so if a person is accused of any sort of crime, until it's proven, then they're innocent. And that's the same as if you're in the United States or many other countries where you are innocent until proven guilty. So right now there's accusations. Nobody should be jumping on one side or the other. If the accusations are true, then Islamically and the legal system in the country in which we're in will take its course. If they are false, then there's a heavy price to pay. Maybe in the country you could say anything, but as far as slander is concerned, as far as defaming a person's character, and we'll just say even on both sides, sometimes people say maybe the people who have brought forth the evidence are untrustworthy, or they're maybe they have some issues with their character or their conduct or something like that. That would be slander too. That's something that you don't, unless you know these people. Then if you know them, then it would be backbiting. So at any rate, we can't disparage or jump to conclusions or already indict any people without things being proven. And then once they're proven, then you take the appropriate steps. So I think it's such a hot button issue that people have gone to extremes from one side or other. Mostly they want this brother, they say that he should be killed, he should be executed, he shouldn't be allowed to live. I mean, we don't have time to go through all the people who have been accused of crimes and have been innocent. There's people right now in jail that have spent dozens, tens of years in jail, and they're actually innocent. They've been proven to be innocent. So, and every time they had all this evidence and this stuff against them. All we're saying is that, at face value, the number one thing that you have to do is to make sure you're putting things in their proper place, their proper perspective, and that is every person is innocent until proven guilty, and anything beyond that is going to be slandering that person. And if you have some inside information, then you would be backbiting the person.
Yeah, so that's what we wanted to cover about the Wisam Sharif incident. And as we know, according to Hadith and Tirmidhi, that we do not cast judgment until we hear both sides of the story. And all we know is there is a report out by the FBI. You feel free to access that report if you want to read about the details of the report. You can easily Google it. We have a link to it in the description of the video. That's up to you. The more important issue, and it's not to discount the alleged victims in this situation or other victims that may be involved in the situation that we don't know about, that we don't know. It's not to diminish that. But this is a prime opportunity to talk about the bigger issue that's going on in the Ummah. And this is what people really need to pay attention to. Okay. So whenever you have, say, any situation, especially a negative one, you want to pay attention to a few things, right? In auditing, we call it the 5 elements of a finding, right? But you could apply it to any situation. Any situation has a cause. It has a condition. It has an effect. It has a criteria, and has recommendations. Okay. So we're looking right now, this situation is actually the effect, right? This is what happens, right? It's a negative consequence that happens because of a lot of different causes and because of a certain condition that we have within the Ummah. And there's different terms you could use for it. And the most recent one I heard was the commercialization of Islam, or Islam in the Ummah. You can call it that. You can call it celebrity culture in Islam with these shuyukhs and imams. You can call it cult culture, right? You can call it all these different things, but these are the things that existing now that are putting people at risk of becoming victims or subjects to this type of abuse. We're going to go over a statement later that one individual who has a somewhat large social media following issued a statement. But I mean, in the statement, they said, I have never, ever in my whatever amount of years of being a Muslim, ever heard of anything like this ever happening. To be a leader in this Ummah and to not know that this sort of stuff happens on a daily basis and is covered up, is swept under a rug, is ignored, is almost negligence, especially coming from the background that, we have come from, the other people have come from. We know this stuff happens. We know that people. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, we could say that if a person would, and we're not going to be naive. I mean, some of the things that are swirling around, they may be shocking or, definitely uncomfortable to hear. But for a person who has been around and involved with the Ummah at various levels, to say that they have never heard of things like this taking place amongst the Muslims and with people in leadership positions or something like that, that would mean the person is either has not really been around, or they deliberately are just, trying to avoid hearing or knowing. This is something that so the issue is that a lot of, maybe it's for obvious reasons, but the Muslims are trying to almost pretend as if some of these things don't happen, but doing that doesn't make it go away. And that's the problem. They try to cover it up. They try to, sweep it under the rug or try to keep it quiet. And then it just perpetuates some of these things taking place. So I think either the person is just, not really involved maybe, or it's really naive.
Yes, absolutely. And really, you'd have to be ignorant to ignore this. And it's not something that just happened recently, or this has happened in the past before too. And what we're seeing here is with these people who are famous and have this online personality, is the ego builds. And as humans, when your ego gets too high, you feel like you can just do no wrong. And people don't hold you accountable. We see this with people who were kings and stuff like that of Muslim lands, who had these harems and all this like that. They weren't married to these girls. They weren't sitting there fighting at war. They just had these girls just left, right, and center. They were drinking alcohol. And when you get to a certain level, it's naive of you to say, hey, this can't happen at all. No, it does happen. These things that happen in like Catholic churches, it's not isolated, it's just there. Like, people don't just get abused only in Catholic churches. It happens in Muslim churches, in Muslim mosques as well. Happens at synagogues. So you have to be aware of this. And when you let these problems fester and just be ignored, it grows bigger and bigger and bigger. And so eventually, right, when you don't nip these problems in the bud early on, it's going to be where it is today.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I always say that, and I go back to this because it helps me to kind of level set myself. And it's something of a reminder for all of us. We're human beings. We're not infallible. And when we get into these positions of grandeur, or we get into these spaces, keeping it real, we just start feeling ourselves, and a lot of times I know most of us have already been there. We might get these little positions or, get a promotion at a job, anything. And then here comes that ego. Here comes that this. And when you get to these heights, it's a scary drop. It's a real scary drop. And you got to be careful. And that's why humility is so important. That's why Allah Subhanahu speaks about, not being able to get into the paradise with an ounce of pride and all of these different things, because these things are extremely important. And none of us are, we're all susceptible to it, from the bottom to the top. And it's something that we ourselves have experienced firsthand. We've been witnesses, to actual sexual abuse and misconduct, and spiritual abuse and financial abuse and all of these different areas. We actually have firsthand experience with it. And it's something that, it's serious to us. And we don't do this lightly. We're not trying to get rich or get, go viral or something. This is a serious issue and it means a lot to us. This is the reason why we're addressing it. And we're trying to be as measured as possible because, once again, as the brothers have already stated, we have to treat each other fairly because at the end of the day, we're Muslims. You know,
Mhm.
we're Muslims and we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have to give each situation and each individual their fair due. So we're trying to do our best, but this is something that means a lot to us.
Yeah. And I just want to say, touch on real quick, well, not real quick, as much as we need to. For anybody that's new listening, we all come from a background where we and our family members and our friends were actually in an Islamic cult, right? Where the cult was the cult leaders and the cult fake shake, and all that were using Islam to take advantage of people, right? And using Islam, using their status, using their power, using all these different things to take advantage of people, whether that was financially, whether that was marrying young girls, whether that was abusing people. Like we basically went through a crash course of dealing with any type of abuse that you can think of from Muslim leaders, right? And I want to connect that experience for our viewers, and you guys can comment on this, of how that relates to pretty much these celebrity YouTube personalities, where you want to call them sheikhs, where you want to call them da'is or imams or whatever you want to call them, but they developed a celebrity following, whether it was, their intent or whatever. They got this celebrity following, and it's almost as if they have developed inadvertently their own cult following, right? And I know for me, the first time I seen it enacted out was when I was seeing the situation with Omar Suleiman, when he made the mistakes he made with the marches and got involved in some shirk practices, and he eventually admitted to it and apologized and all that, whatever, right? But me seeing like the comments and the stuff that his supporters were making reminded me 100% of the same things we would hear from the people in the cult that would defend the abuses that their fake sheikh would make. So if you guys could talk a little bit about that and tell me what y'all thoughts are on that.
My thoughts on this are just really simple and plain. It's folks don't want to admit that, hey, the person that I trust, right? Because they may look at these online personalities, these sheikhs, whatever, as someone who is my teacher, right? Because they've learned a lot from them. These people put out videos on Islam and help them closer to their religion, right? So an attack on them and what they're doing is inadvertently an attack on me. At least that's how they view it, right? And we have to detach ourselves from these people, because at the end of the day, listen, that person does good for you, but you do not know them behind closed doors. You know them from when they put on their khufaya and their thobe and they press record and they're smiling at you. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. That's who you know. So you don't know that real person behind that screen, right? You see them for 10, 15 minutes, however long their videos are, and they go on with their lives, and so do you. So you don't know them to that extent, all right? Only put your trust in Allah. That's really all I'll say for that.
Respectfully, where we've come from, the things we've experienced, the situations we've been in. I'm not going to speak for the rest of the brothers here on the panel, but for me, I mean, I'm out, as far as really taking bayat or coming under some type of, sheikh. I mean, respectfully, I will, I'll take the good. If they're saying something that is true, it's authentic, it's from the, the text, and it's something that I can relate to, mashallah. But just like my brother Umar said here, getting into a group or this, I'm not dealing with none of that, me personally, because again, I've seen too much. I've seen too much of a lot of these sheikhs and people. I'm not going to put his name out there, but one of the celebrity sheikhs, I mean, the brother was just double talking. He got so high to where he couldn't come off of his high horse and just admit, like you was just saying, Jaffer, when Brother Umar Suleiman, he admitted that he made a mistake. I mean, naturally we can respect that. Humble yourself, admit you made a mistake. But then you get these other people on these high horses, they want to kind of throw some word salad at you because they would prefer not to just humble themselves and just say, yeah, I made a mistake. Come out to your big giant following, your big audience, and just admit you made a mistake. It's a better look for you. It's a better look, and you're going to, if there was a cult following, the people in that area are going to get more respect for you. You know, they might be let down. Dang, oh man, I was going so hard for him in the comments. You know what I mean? But he came out and he admitted it. They're still going to respect you. But think of it the other way, where a lot of times these big figures, it's hard for them to admit when they've said something incorrect or they've made a mistake. And for me, that's very distasteful. I'm really turned off by it. We've experienced this. We're still experiencing this with the cult, you know, that we came from. And it's just distasteful, and I'm off put by it. And I'm over it, really, to be honest.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is how it happens is the ayah comes to mind where Allah talks about how they, where the Christians, one of the Sahaba were he was interacting with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm going quick through the hadith, so people who might be watching, why he skip it? Because there's a lot to it. But the point is, Rasulullah told him that they used to worship their rabbi, their scholars. He said, we didn't used to worship them. He used to be a Christian. He said, we didn't worship them, but he said, did you allow them to, they said what was halal, was haram, and vice versa. And they followed them in this, and they accepted that. So in that, Rasulullah explained to them that you were worshiping them instead of Allah. So how does this apply to this type of culture? Because the first thing usually that happens, the distinction is when people start to make excuses for breaches in Sharia. And when the celebrity sheikh or cult leader, I mean, the line is very thin between those two. It gets to that point, right? And when people start to make excuses for the cult leader or the celebrity sheikh that they wouldn't make for their brother or for their own self or for anyone else, they start to excuse that away. And where things that are pretty clear that as a Muslim you shouldn't do or can't do, they let it go, right? So that's the first sign. That's the first crack, right? They say like, seriously, if any of us were to go up and we just taking pictures with a bunch of ladies, right? If we were just taking pictures with ladies, you'd be like, what are you doing, bro? But if it's, Sheikh so-and-so, Mufti this, or, whoever, it's like, oh, it's okay because this is a celebrity. I mean, he's the, so-and-so, right? So what does that parlay into, right? So for the general Ummah, they see that all the time, but they're desensitized to it, right? This famous sheikh is taking pictures with a bunch of ladies. How does that even make sense as a Muslim? But so in a cult, you have where the cult leader, sheikh, he's, hugging ladies, patting them on the head or whatever. They're washing his feet and doing all types of stuff. And the excuses are made. So the thing is, in just human nature, when a man has unrestricted access to women at large, he's going to transgress. That's why boundaries are put in place, right? And so this is something that, I mean, you shouldn't be shocked about certain things when you know the environment. That's like saying there was a fire inside. Well, there was gasoline. There was a gas line that was cut inside the house, and someone lit a match. You shouldn't be surprised that the house blew up. Yeah. Likewise, you should not be surprised when certain people have unrestricted access and such a following to where the people will bypass the Shariah and make all types of excuses for their conduct that's not acceptable just for anyone's standards, and then see that something may have taken place. Or there's, things that we might get into later about secret marriages and all these things. I mean, what do you expect? If a young lady, is like she can just jump on the phone and talk to Sheikh so-and-so about all their issues in seclusion, then you would be a fool to be surprised once that sheikh, all of a sudden he's married to her secretly or publicly or whatever. That's one thing that's, whenever you should have at least a third party, and how many times you're having with the opposite gender.
How many times have we actually seen this play out? Let's be honest and be real. We've seen this play out time in and day out, where there's not restricted access, in somebody of a high leadership position or something. They have access, just like you said, Mubarak. And what happens? What ends up happening? Just like you said, there's always some type of misconduct, or magically he has a second secret wife. He magically married the person he was supposed to be counseling. All of this foolishness. And again, there's guidelines and laws put in place specifically for a reason. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the human being. He created man. He knows us inside and out. And this is why these laws are put in place. And no one is above these laws. A lot of times you'll see some of these sheikhs or, imams or whatever, for whatever's going on in their minds, they legit think that they can transgress these boundaries and lines. And they do it quite frequently and comfortably. And because it's almost like they know you wouldn't dare ask them what they're doing. You wouldn't dare question. You're muted, Mubarak.
Am I muted?
Oh, you're not.
You're good.
Okay. Yeah, but I was going to say a good template to use, or a good test to have, is number one: is this a breach of Sharia, or is this a breach of the Islamic norms? If it is, do not say, well, it's Sheikh so-and-so though. No, don't take the piety, the assumed piety of a person. As Allah says, فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Don't make yourselves out to be, righteous or whatever. Expect that a man will be tempted or be susceptible to what any man on the planet will be susceptible to. And don't say because you think this person is holy. So anytime there's a breach in Sharia, anytime there's a breach in what the Quran or the Sunnah says, or what is the standard for Islamic norms, or the standard for, protecting, especially the genders. And then the next thing is, you make sure that when there's something going on, a test that you can put forth is would I treat the way that this sheikh, the leeway that I'm giving him, the type of rope that you're giving him in certain situations, would that be the same for anyone else, right? So, for instance, if I'm going to say, right, or so-and-so wants to marry, the brother calls you and says, hey, I want to marry this girl or whatever, but I don't really want to tell anybody. Now, you might be like, hey, you know what, that's kind of, crazy to the regular person. But if Sheikh so-and-so calls you and says, hey, listen, I need you to be the witness to a wedding or whatever, it's just, just a little quiet thing. Like, well, it is Sheikh so-and-so, so, it'd be all right. Maybe you're happy to help the Sheikh out or whatever. But the same red flags you should have for the normal person when it comes to conduct, when it comes to breaches in Sharia, it should be the same. And if you think, well, the sheikh should know, maybe there's some sort of reason why you can do this, and they sometimes people come up with these excuses. Well, we know you can eat pork sometimes if it's a necessity, and we know there's certain concessions for things that are haram. So maybe the sheikh knows something I don't. No, you know when it's something that you feel and you can tell this is not right. Don't bypass that. If you wouldn't accept it from the rank and file, from all the people around, brothers and sisters, whatever, don't accept it from your celebrity sheikh or your celebrity sheikha, whoever it is.
Yep, absolutely.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, listen, and this is something that is universal for every human. All right, is that the saying goes, power tends to corrupt. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so, as Mubarak mentioned, listen, you give them this certain status, they feel they're above reproach, and they're going to flaunt that status and abuse that status. It doesn't matter what they're perceived as, what level they've reached inside of this worldly affair as far as knowledge or power. Listen, they will transgress if given the opportunity to. And it won't just be like one giant leap. It's going to be small steps, increments. And as increments grow further, hey, listen, I already have hugs and kisses from all of my fangirls. Hey, listen, now I'm going to marry some of them in secret. Oh, and now I'm going to have some concubines. And it goes going to go further. And just because they're, this is pious Sheikh so-and-so, it doesn't mean anything at all. There was this story about this I think he was a monk or whatever named Bar Cecil. And he was viewed as this very pious person, right? And as time went on, he became this devil worshiper, right? So it started off great. He was this pious monk, all good stuff. But hey, listen, the devil doesn't work to just stop. Listen, I'm not Umar, and neither are you. All right, so be very careful of that. Be very careful of that.
And it's very important to pay attention to what Amr just said about the small steps. And we're going to use this to kind of segue into talking about Brother Yasir Qadhi's response or talk about the Wisam Sharif scandal, or his talk about this stuff in general. We have another video on our channel you can watch where we kind of break down like the kind of mistakes, the major mistakes he made in his talk. We'll talk a little bit about it here too. But in his talk, like, we're going to talk about secret marriages. We hit it on a little bit, but the little steps that lead you down this road of putting yourself in a bad situation. In that video by Yasir Qadhi, and it really, like, it was like cringeworthy to me, since we know like how that cult following and that inappropriate list, like that, those steps to like deviancy kind of go. And I'm not saying Yasir Qadhi's a deviant and all these. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the steps that get you to being in inappropriate situations, right? He talked about autographs. And it's how simple that might sound about, like, he said, well, I don't sign autographs for adults, but what do I do with little kids come up to me and ask for an autograph? And, of course I sign it to them. And he kind of discouraged it, but he used it as a way to like give excuse for, I'm a celebrity. It's okay that I'm a celebrity. Right. And then he used background of like, the great scholars in the past used to have all these students come and they used to love them and this and that. That's fine. We love people for the sake of Allah. But then just thinking about that little act of like signing an autograph, right? How that is like, that's a small step Shaitan's trying to get you to go in a certain direction. Because when you think about an autograph, when you're signing an autograph, just think about the question, what are you calling that person to? You're not calling them to Allah, right? You're signing your name and increasing that attachment that kid or whoever has with you. And you're like, I only do it for kids. Okay, do you only do it for boy kids? At what age do you consider kid a kid? What about like, adolescents, 13, 14, 15? Like, you can keep going down this road. I'm not saying he's like, autographing stuff for girls and all. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, for me, with the background we have and knowing how these steps lead to further steps and how Shaitan's always working, right? Shaitan doesn't say, oh, he memorized the Quran, I'm giving up on him. Oh, he's got a million followers, I'm giving up on him. No, he's still working on you, and so we see a lot of that come out in the talk. Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. So if it's a two-part question, actually. Number one, if you were approached for an autograph, what would you say? And number two, if say your son said that he wanted to get whoever, Mufti Mink or somebody, anyway, he comes to your city and he wants an autograph, what would you say? Those two things.
So if I was asked for an autograph, whether it's a kid or if it's an adult, I would just say like, no, I don't give autographs, and you shouldn't be asking any human being for autographs. We don't do that as Muslims. Try to turn them to Allah like that. If it's a kid, I would try to explain in terms that they can understand that, what they like about me. Just like Yasir Qadhi said in his video, what you like about me is not me. It's Allah, the stuff that I'm talking about, Islam, stuff like that. So focus on getting closer to Allah. Don't worry about my autograph. I'm nobody. I'm nothing. I could be, in simple terms, pretty much. But pretty much say no and try to turn them back to Islam, which they really should be focused on. If it's my son or my child that's saying, oh, I want to get so-and-so's autograph, I would explain the same thing and explain to them the dangers of attaching themselves to anybody's personality except for Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right?
Okay, well, I got one more. Yep. Would you let your daughter or your wife take a picture with whoever, famous sheikh, whoever, so and so?
If there's no Tama Buddha at the end of that, no.
Yeah, that's what I don't get. I mean, I would say for me, I would never sign an autograph. I don't know how it wouldn't, because what is it going to do? You're going to take that autograph. I mean, it's not. I mean, I can almost understand like some of the athletes or whatever that you can take that autograph and they make money off of it,
Right.
almost, I understand that. But as far as they want your autograph because you were Sheikh so-and-so, I mean, think about what that autograph is doing. That autograph is, they have it on a whatever, a napkin or shirt, or you sign their kufi or their thobe or something or whatever. Then they look at the writing and then they remember who.
Yeah.
Sheikh whoever.
Yeah.
They're not remembering a lot. And actually, if anything, you should, if someone asks for the autograph, I would make dua for them and remind them of Allah. So at the very least, I'll say, I won't give you an autograph, but I will, make dua for you, or I would remind him of an ayah of Quran, or if anything, write an ayah of Quran or write a hadith on their thing. That way, they're reminded of it.
Alhamdulillah, that is perfect.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's exactly what I thought. If I was going to give an autograph, I would probably do something like La ilaha illallah or something like this, or, Allahu Akbar, because, I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of cringy. Like if we turned it to celebrity, podcasts or whatever, and someone's asking us for an autograph, it would be a little weird to be trying to sign your name. That's a little cringy for me. But I did want to bring up this, and I think this is something that often gets overlooked as well. When a person is excelling in, I guess, righteousness or deeds or anything like this or of the sort, their test is going to be matched. Whatever their struggle or their test is going to be matched. So when you get to these heights, you better believe it. Your test will be equal to the abilities that you're able to handle that at that level. So a lot of times I've noticed that a lot of these figures, they get into these positions and they lose sight of this. And then they get smoked when that test actually comes. It could be in a simple form, just like you guys said. A kid comes and, are you going to have the wherewithal to redirect that child? Instead of signing your name, are you going to have the wherewithal to redirect that child to the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Or are you going to put your name there? You know what I mean? You're going to put your name up there and then assume some type of credit or some type of glory or some of this. Like, so I'm just saying that to say, when you get to these heights, you will be matched in the tests and trials and tribulations will be equal to your capacity at that level. As long as you continue to climb and strive, that test will be equal up there and you're going to have to battle. There's not going to be a time in your life when you're living here on earth that you're not going to have to battle and make sure that you continue to prove yourself and prove yourself worthy of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So just leave it there.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead, Mubarak.
I was just going to say, so, I mean, some of the, I guess the admonition or that we're giving is maybe for the celebrity chef or whatever, who, most likely is not, watching this. Most of the people that are watching or that will watch will probably be people who may be on the other end, where they're seeing their favorite sheikh, their mufti, their whoever, and they do see them as celebrities. I mean, we see them as a celebrity, just someone who's famous, and who's well recognized, like you would recognize them almost anywhere. I mean, there are some shuyukh or some of these da'iyas in the Ummah that they're just as recognizable as some football, soccer stars and basketball players or whatever. Like, I would say that you probably will find that a lot of people who are not even Muslim, they actually know who Mufti Menk is. Like, like he just has that distinct look, and with his beard that he always wears this certain setup or whatever. It's like, seriously, you even see some skits and some videos on social media or whatever, non-Muslim, that use his content. They like clip him into their videos. So there's some of these people, not to pick on Mufti Menk or anything, but they are celebrities. And so I would say for the people on our end going towards these shuyukh or whatever, that you always have to make sure that you are not, you have to realize they are the same as anyone else. They're not actually necessarily better. Only Allah knows who's the best, but they have love handles or whatever, all these different issues that everyone goes through. They have all the same stuff going on. You know what I mean? They get sick or they got to go to the bathroom, all that stuff. So when you think of it like that, you're gonna, you can pull back from that. This culture where how The non-Muslims have some of their singers and people who, you know, they'll take their sweaty, clothes or their undergarments, anything, you know, and they'll say, I'm never going to wash this, or they'll get a handshake and they'll say, I've never washed my hand. I mean, you know, this is nuts. So we have to really pull back and know and understand. And Yasir probably did make a good point about how it's the knowledge and the bringing us closer to Allah that we should be attached to. So we should be able to fairly easily, remove them. And I'm not saying remove them, but to be able to take that knowledge from someone else and still be able to continue on. One sign that you're having an issue, that you are having an issue with looking at them as celebrities and almost being perpetuating, because no cult exists without the leader and the followers. So the followers are responsible for not becoming a cult follower and giving these people a cult-like following. So when you start to see your guy or your sheikh and you start to use him, you put other people down ahead of him or whatever, or you single him out or her out, to where it's almost like you're willing to battle and argue with people online or maybe even physically over your guy or whatever. That's when you know that you are perpetuating a cult following and cult-like behavior. So you got to recognize that and pull back.
Yeah. And I just want to say real quick, another term that is used for the word celebrity, and this is like where we have to make sure that as Muslims we don't cross the line, because it's natural. Like if say you went to make Umrah or Hajj and you've seen like Sheikh Sudais, like you'd be like, oh man, that's Sheikh. Like you wouldn't be like, like it'd be a thing. So it's no problem with like having that kind of feeling. But another word for celebrity is what? Idol, right? That's my idol. These are idols, American Idol, American celebrity. So we have to make sure that as Muslims, we don't, as Mubarak said, as being, say, followers or general public, I guess you could say fans, we don't cross over from letting our Muslim celebrities or famous people turn into idols for us. Or like Mubarak has said, where like we're hanging on every single word they say. We think everything they say is perfect. Nobody else, no other scholar matters. No other opinion matters. If they do it wrong, I'm justifying it. I'm going online. I'm defending them. We have to make sure we don't cross that line. As much as we'll use Wisam as an example, as much as we love Wisam Sharif and the Quran that he was spreading and teaching and all that, and if we're one of the people that I've taken one of his classes, I've taken one of his courses, right? And he's so enthusiastic and taught it, and then this happens, it should not affect our iman. It should not cause us to go and start saying, oh no, he's innocent. I don't care what evidence they bring. It's a conspiracy. It's the Wahhabis. It's the Zionists trying to bring, like, no. The Quran is what I'm attached to. The Quran is still going to be there, whether Wisam comes and goes, the next guy comes and goes, Sudais comes and goes. The Quran is going to be there, and that's what our heart's attached to. Okay, I want to touch on one of the things that also, and I hate to, we got to use Yasir Qadhi as an example, but he's the one that we know spoke about this, is because one of the things that we mentioned earlier is that when you're in these situations that you're possibly like, maybe a sheikh, it might be trying to take advantage of you, or you're thinking like they're asking you to do questionable things, or you find yourself in a compromising situation. One of the things you could do is go to another like sheikh or imam to like seek guidance and help, which you should do that, right? We shouldn't just like denounce everybody like, oh, they're all corrupt, everybody's like bad, right? No, you should go seek advice and counsel. However, you also have to be aware that there is a culture that exists where, how cops, right? We're African American. We know how cops, right? They call it protecting the line, protect the blue line.
The blue
right?
shield, yeah.
Blue shield, right? It don't matter what these criminals do. It don't matter what we always defend each other. It doesn't matter if we do right or wrong. And if you want to tie it back to Islam, it's that old tribal mentality, right? Before Islam came, you defended the members of your tribe no matter what they did. It didn't matter if they stole. It didn't matter if they, whatever they did, you protected your tribesmen. So it's happening now.
Yeah.
What's that?
I was just going to say, it's like defend the tribe, the tribe, and then figure out who's right or wrong. It's just like, you know how it's like if your brother gets in a fight or whatever, it's like I'm just going to start swinging too, and then we'll sort it out later.
Yep.
That's not the way it should be. It just I don't want people to get lost on the cop thing or the police thing, because I think people can understand that. They've seen enough probably movies, and they've seen enough stories in the news or whatever where the cop's job, and listen, the police, their job is to uphold the law, to protect the people, to protect and serve. This is their job. And when you need help, when you need some support, or when you need justice to be carried out, and you go to the police.
Yeah.
When the criminal or when the good person dies, everybody knows that they go to the police, and the police are expected to do their job. But there's also a well-known, unwritten rule that the police protect their own, even if one of their own is corrupt.
Yep.
You know, they have all the shows and movies or whatever, they have, internal affairs. And internal affairs is always like some people that the cops basically, internal affairs is looked at as the evil, entity within the department that's just trying to mess things up. Yep. So this culture, you have to, if you can understand that culture, then it is almost identical to what goes on in some of these, unfortunately, Islamic organizations. If you look at the things that happen, is to where they will protect the shield, how the police protect the shield, they will protect the organization. And then after that, if they can protect the organization at all costs. And then if people have to be sacrificed, all right. If they can protect their people, all right. So we have to look and make sure that we're seeing that parallel. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I don't want people to get lost on it. They can understand the cop thing. Now drag it over to this situation that we're talking about.
That's perfect. And and if anybody watches TV or movies like that could see those references, even a good cop, they'll have this idea of, well, we can't make the police force look like we're bad. So it's better it's better for us to cover up this bad stuff this cop did so that people can still trust the police. Mm-hmm. Right? And it could be a good cop, like they really have good intentions, but the problem is, like Mubarak said, they end up shirking their actual real duty, which is to protect the people, right? And you have to be aware of this, that because this happens advertently and inadvertently, right? And a classic example of this is if you go watch Yasir Qadhi's video and you watch the video that we did on this, on his response or his talk about the Wisam scandal and spiritual abuse in the Ummah. This is what Yasir Qadhi did. And you could basically boil it down to a question of whether they're protecting the institution or are they protecting the people, right? And you see all these examples of like, no, this person is protecting the institution. And there's a third cause that people get into this as well, which we're going to talk about a little bit. But there's also people that pretty much are like vultures or hyenas, that they're only protecting themselves, not even protecting themselves. They're trying to promote themselves, right? They're not doing it to try to educate the Ummah. They're not doing it to try to protect the victims. They're doing it because, okay, it's like TMZ. This is the news. I need content to put out. I'm going to speak about this, right? Where in fact, we probably shouldn't be speaking about it at all. That's like, for instance, right? Our channel is about spiritual abuse, right? And I don't know if y'all know, it's like there was like several months back, maybe even a year ago, there was like a little debate between Sheikh Uthman Farouk and Dr. What is his name? Dr.
Zakir Naik.
Zakir Naik. Yeah, there was like a little debate going on back and forth with them. Right, that was like hot news for the like pop culture. Like this is hot right now. And then we jump on there and we start like, well, Sheikh Uthman was this. Here's my statement on Sheikh Uthman. Here's my statement on Dr. No, it's none of our business. Just because it's hot news in the Ummah wise, we shouldn't be commenting on it, right? And it's especially important to pay attention to this when we're talking about spiritual abuse, because when people do that, and I kind of went off topic because we want to talk about Yasir Qadhi, but when people talk about these things in the wrong way, for the wrong purposes, you have a high potential for traumatizing individuals and re-traumatizing individuals, right? So particular to Yasir Qadhi, I know there's a few things we want to talk about, but the one thing that really came up that he made a very, very big mistake on, and Mubarak talked about it a little bit earlier, was the secret marriages. Now
before we jump into that, I want to set this up a little bit by giving people a few players that might be in any of these situations, and then you can kind of figure out where you may have been, where you could possibly be in the future, or where some other people that you know. That way, as we go through it, we can kind of talk about who should do what in what situation. Okay, so sometimes you will have the person who maybe the transgressor, the person who's doing something wrong. Okay, you have the witness or someone who may be privy to the situation. Okay, but maybe they don't have any power. Then you have leaders in institutions, for instance, a leader in a masjid or an Islamic organization. Okay, so there's different people that, for instance, if I'm not even gonna say but if you have a person who is possibly engaging in an extramarital relationship, right? So a friend or a wife or a family member or someone who's just, they have a certain responsibility, okay, or they're privy to it. And then the imam of a masjid or the police, they have a different responsibility. So you have a situation. So with some of these cover-ups, some of the secret marriage or whatever, you have some people that are caught between, is this really harming anyone? Yeah. And they're caught between, I don't necessarily think this right, but can I advise them, or should I go and be a snitch or whatever? Then you have the person who is in a role or a position to, their job is to actually protect the people or inform the people and to be of service to the people, the overall people. So if you are a family member or a witness or someone who's just kind of on the periphery, or if you are in a position of leadership, then the rules are different for what you should and shouldn't do, what you can and can't do. But for some people, I would say for the person in leadership, it's pretty restricted to what you need to do in certain situations. Yeah. The person that's not in leadership or in a position of authority, it may be a little different. But just know that these are different areas where people fall into, and as we go forward, identify where you yourself might be, and then how you should act accordingly. Well, hopefully we can get that across. Yeah.
So if we look at the example Yasir Qadhi talked about with secret marriages. So Yasir Qadhi, some of the things, I'm not gonna say like everything he said in there was wrong. Some of the things he's like right on point. Like as far as like this idea of covering sins, we as a ummah need to be better educated on this topic and all, because the majority of people think that we just cover any sin. Oh no, we don't expose. We got to keep the reputations. No, it doesn't work like that. If it's a sin, and just real simple, Yasir Qadhi talked about this. If it's a sin, a private sin that doesn't affect anybody, and of course there's nuances to everything, because like it can't. We'll just say real simple. I don't want to get too complicated. If it's a private sin, doesn't affect anybody, that's a sin that you may want to cover. You privately advise them, go to me, hey, I notice you're doing X, Y, Z. Allah said, Rasulullah said, you should try to stop, blah, blah, blah. You don't need to go expose the person, right? If it's a sin, and we're talking about spiritual abuse, right? We're not gonna mince words. We're talking about spiritual abuse, where someone is being abused in the situation by this individual, right? Whether it's financially, whether it's physically, whether it's spiritually, whether it's sexually, whatever any abuse you want to talk about, if the person is being abused and being affected by this person's sin or transgression, you must report it to somebody that you believe has the power to stop it, right? And we're not going to give specifics on that, because that's different for anybody. You go to the people or the person that you think has the power to put an end to whatever abuse is going on, okay? Now, Yasir Qadhi brought up secret marriages, okay? And then he qualified secret marriages by saying they met all the conditions. So the only way that happens is if pretty much the husband and the wife got witnesses that agreed, witnesses and the imam, whoever performed the marriage, even though the woman's wali, they all agree, like, we're not going to tell anybody after this, right? Okay, there's a little discussion of like whether that's permissible or not. We don't want to go down that route, but the main question everybody should be asking is, why would a man and a woman want to get into a secret marriage? And I'm sure we can come up with a lot of different answers, but the majority of the time that a couple engages in a secret marriage is because something is wrong. Something out of the normal is happening, and someone, usually the woman, is being taken advantage of by an abusive or manipulative person. And especially if we're talking about leaders, because all of our red flags went off when he's like, wait, why is he talking about secret marriages? Okay, Yasir Qadhi knows about a bunch of secret marriages, and he hasn't told anybody about it, because why else would he bring that up? Mm-hmm. This is something that you should definitely expose and tell somebody, because marriages are public information. If Mubarak was in a secret marriage, right, and I see him at Walmart walking down the aisles with some sister, I'm like, that's not his wife, that's not his daughter, that's not his sister, he's not related to that sister. What is going on? Right now I'm having bad thoughts. Now I'm committing sins. I'm going back and telling my wife, like, I'm backbiting him, but the whole time it's his wife. Right, and then I go report that Mubarak, right, is committing adultery. Mm. You see what I'm saying? Like,
so I got two questions. I got two questions for you. Number one is, so, and if we look at, we can do, like, if some of these celebrity shuyukh, some of these famous people, we've heard the stories, and about, prominent shuyukh, and some of them, they have these secret marriages. Why would a celebrity sheikh have a secret marriage? And why would a woman agree to a secret marriage with a celebrity sheikh? Right? These are the two things. Because maybe people don't realize, okay, what's the big deal? Like, even so, Yasir Qadhi, may Allah bless him, but to try to act like, hey, it's no big deal. No. When you actually go through the reasons why would they do that, then you see that it is a big deal. Especially, it's a bigger deal for a celebrity sheikh, right? So I was one reason why a alleged celebrity sheikh would have a secret marriage, mm-hmm. would be that he does not want it to affect his celebrity status, right?
Yeah.
Because to become a celebrity, you have to kind of fit into a certain very politically correct area and zone, yep. Right? So if you're a person who is practicing polygyny, especially in a lot of Western countries, or even did I go out? Or even in some Muslim countries, for a celebrity, a mainstream celebrity, to have more than one wife, it's like taboo. You might lose some followers. You might not get invited to this place or that place, or you might not be. So what they do is, yeah, but you know how it's going to affect my brand. I have 1 million Instagram followers. I make money off of this, so we can get married. But I mean, if you want to keep living this lifestyle, so that's one reason, and that's probably the most benign.
That's probably the best reason.
I was just about to say that's probably the best reason I've heard. Just thinking about it, it does sound a little strange, but when you say it in that light, Mubarak, that makes a whole lot of sense, because now I'm thinking, like, man, you notice how you really never, and again, I guess it's okay, but you never really hear about those type of situations where they're actually having public marriages. Like, maybe that's some type of, community thing that they do, like with all the celebrities or something like that. You never really hear about them, getting married or anything. So to your point.
Wait.
I was saying, in general, most of the shuyukh or the celebrity personalities or the guys on, like, rightfully, they keep their private life private, which everybody should, right? They don't want their wives and say, oh, this is Yasir Qadhi's wife, take a picture and put on, right? They don't want to do that. But as Mubarak say, like, we're saying, like, this is probably the best of the reasons. It's still wrong, right? Because Why are you? And Yasir Qadhi, I mean, now that even when we're talking through this, he mentioned about the sheikh that his whole community threw a fit over because he came to speak and they found out he had multiple wives, right? Are we doing a service to Islam by hiding Islam,
That's what I was
by
gonna
hiding
say.
our practicing of the Quran and the Sunnah, right? Because you're afraid that it'll affect your brand, affect your teaching, you know, and it's just, it's really, and the one reason I was going to say, because this is actually a real example, right? There was an imam of a masjid, I believe it was in Arizona. He was single, and he was like basically trying to like propose to almost every single woman in the masjid. Yes, I'm trying to get married. I'm the imam and this and that, right? Turns out he did this like 3 other times and was already married to 3 other women, right? But each one he's telling them it's a secret marriage, and then it finally blew up with one of the women turned up at the masjid with his kid and was like, "This is my husband." And then it was a big old scandal because he liked the attention that he was getting for being the single imam pious guy in the masjid that needed a wife.
This man Jaffer stole exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that, like, as these celebrity men, they have to portray themselves as single, so that, listen, because there are some shayukh right out there who you can tell as a man, he has his content specifically geared towards women. He focuses only on women hadith and girl empowerment. Oh, you know, Jannah, the feet of mothers. Not every girl in Islam loves a mother. It's not how it works, right? and so, like, their whole content is geared towards that. So, oh, you know, these folks fantasize about, oh, you know, imagine if I was a chick's wife, I would be going on these trips and all like that. So their whole image is like, oh, I'm selling my singleness, my bachelorhood toward these prospecting young Muslim women out there, so that they can, you know, oh wow, you know, inshallah.
Yeah. And what happens in these situations, and really what's the root of it is, Allah has, we talked to, Hussein mentioned this in the beginning, Allah has these laws in place for a reason. We have our Islamic etiquette and sunnah for a reason. One of the reasons why marriages are made public is to protect the rights of the husband and the wife, right? So in the same exact situation that I just gave you, this guy divorced one of his secret wives 3 times, then just went back to her and was like, yeah, we're still married, and just started having relations with her again because she's ignorant, right? What if the wife comes to the masjid and was like, this man has never paid my mahar, right? I need my dowry. He's never paid it. And he's just like, I don't know who she is.
She's crazy.
Yeah.
Typically with the secret marriages, let's just keep it a buck. Let's just keep it 1,000. Typically, when you have those type of secret arrangements, there's something nefarious, something creepy, or something, you know, going on that shouldn't be going on. Simple as that. I mean, we laid out multiple examples. We're not trying to just cast a light on marriages, you know what I mean, or situations like that, but we want to bring to light that these type of situations usually have an underlining, you know, sneakiness with them that's just not necessary. And a lot of times they're up to something that they shouldn't be doing. It's just simple as that.
So I would say that, you know, on top of that, it's the celebrity or fame trying to protect their brand or whatever. But there's also a situation where they don't want to foot the bill that it usually costs to have a legitimate relationship with a wife. So they usually have her either, you know, basically taking care of herself, and they just enjoy the fruits. Or something like that. So usually that happens. There's and the other reason is they might not want to tell, or they want to keep that a secret from their first wife, from their actual wife. They may have a wife or two that they know that they don't want them to know, so they keep it a secret. So maybe a couple of brothers know, and that's it. And the sister lives across town, or she's like, okay, yeah, I'll keep it a secret, just if I can get down with that. So it happens, and these things are wrong. You cannot get married and then not tell your other wife that you have another wife. You can't do that. I mean, because either you're going to be, well, you're a liar, and you're also going to be infringing upon someone else's rights. every other day, or every, you're just disappearing. Oh, lying. Oh, I got a conference. I got this. I got that. I'm staying late for work. You're just a liar. And telling lies is a major sin. So, and that's another thing. So just know that if you are a person who is witnessing a secret marriage, hey brother, just show up. Just two of you guys come and witness this marriage. What you know is this celebrity sheikh or whoever it is, this person is a liar, and they can't really be trusted.
Yep.
And they're a coward because they can't face their wife, or because they want to keep it a secret. They're going to transgress their wife's rights and all these people's rights. So you're probably going to be next if you have to deal with this person. Now, on the woman's side, why would a woman agree to a secret marriage? Most likely they were promised, this is just going to be for a month. Just until things die down. After Ramadan is over, we're gonna, have a big Jonah. After Hajj or something, they're gonna just make up something, or what I have heard of happening, and I've seen this, in around here, where a lady agreed to a secret marriage, and she already had a husband. She was married to somebody else. She agreed to a secret marriage, and was basically, getting paid from both ends, basically. So
hold on.
Yeah.
Was she getting? Was she getting paid and Yamin, or just paid?
And I mean, she listen. She was living with the brother, and she had a whole nother husband in another state.
Wow.
So
Wow.
she's getting taken care of by one husband. And she's also getting, maintenance and asking for money and different stuff, and getting that from the other husband. And then she goes and visits, the other husband, and so this is a thing where the point is, there is nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, that is possibly above board about a secret marriage. Either one or both people are shady. Yep. And there's no way that a person can say that I am imam, I am a leader of a community, I'm someone who should be respected, I am a person, an example for the community, and they have a secret marriage. Yep. This person shouldn't be followed in anything. They're lying to multiple people and hiding things. So, you can't trust it.
And the people that are helping them keep it secret. You're in the same boat, because you're lying right along with them. You're turning a blind eye to the high possibility of somebody being abused, somebody being taken advantage of, right? And I mean, there's situations where sometimes, especially a lot happens a lot with new shahadas, reverts. Yep. Women take their shahada, and some guys, just we'll get married, keep them in a certain town, and they don't even know they're the secret wife. They just think everything's all good, and this guy just disappears for a few days and goes somewhere, and all of a sudden they see the wrong person at the meat store, and my husband's so-and-so, and they're like, Mom, so-and-so? He's married to sister so-and-so. Yep. Maybe we're talking about somebody different right now.
So what's the next thing?
But one thing, we addressed this in our video response to Yasir Qadhi. He probably won't see it, but other leaders and other people will see it. And this is where we're trying to educate ourselves as followers, and we're trying to educate our leaders as well in the Ummah to try to address these things. And one thing that we all need to do, especially if you consider yourself a leader, whatever title you put on that, whether it's student of knowledge, shuyukh, sheikh, imam, whatever title you want to put yourself as, if you're a leader in this ummah, when you are talking about abuse, child abuse, sexual abuse, misconduct, spiritual abuse, when you're talking about these things, it's important that we educate ourselves and tread very carefully, right? If you notice in the very beginning, we brought up the Wisam Sharif issue, right? And we spoke very clearly about his situation and about the victims, and it's still an ongoing situation.
Yes.
Okay. And we use that to talk about the bigger issue going on. When you respond to these things wrong, and we talked about the people that basically, whether they knowingly do it or unknowingly do it, use this as an opportunity to bolster themselves, right? This is absolutely the wrong thing to do. And anybody who has done this, right, has used this scandal has used this issue to basically just create content or to act like they're in the know or act like they're connected or whatever they were trying to do. It's absolutely the wrong way to do it. And we have an example of this that we're going to kind of go through. We're not going to reveal the brother's name. We're just going to go through the content and trying to just touch a little bit on what not to do when you're talking about these situations.
Yes, absolutely. And before we get into that, just real quickly, I know when these type of incidents occur, right, and people face these allegations, right, as a human, you want to respond emotionally, right, because the allegations that this person faces may be very seriously, and if it happens to be allegations against a child or a girl, you think about your sisters or your mother, right, and so you would imagine, okay, what if that was my one of the women in my lives, right? Okay, so I can sort of understand wanting to respond emotionally, but when you are a person who has been thrusted into a position of leadership, right? You have some sort of following. Right? People look to you as some sort of Islamic leader and or religious figure, right? You have to be very measured in your responses, because what you share online, it doesn't get deleted, right? The internet has it forever. I don't care if you take it down. People have already seen it. They spread it to so and so, and they save it on their phones. It goes on forever, right? So when you're going to address these things, right, you cannot let yourself become wayward and just become emotional. That's not how it works. All right. As we tried to do for this whole show, again, these are allegations. We're not going to condemn this person. We're not going to apologize for this person. Right? We're going to stay in the middle course, right? Not going too far left or right. So this person, as we're going to get into, failed on this mark on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So before we because one thing I don't want to get lost is instead of, I know because we're talking about it a lot, but I really want to give people a real example of what they should do in a certain situation. So I'll just say, for instance, if you see me or you find out that I have a secret wife, right? And you are the imam of the masjid that I go to. You're the imam, you find out that I have a secret wife. What would you do? Well, what should you do?
The first thing would be to do, of course, in any situation is, if you can, approach the individual directly. That's like the first step, right? I'm the imam. I come to you, Mubarak, and say, hey, I found out that you have a secret wife. Tell me what's going on.
All right, what is it your business? What's the business? What's your business? Okay, I mean, I come here, I pray or whatever. You know what I mean? So what's your business? I mean,
so then
is it illegal?
We go into the, I explain why it's wrong, right? It has to be public. I explain a lot of things that we already talked about and a lot of things that you mentioned, what duty I have to the people. And then, if I confirm.
Why is it your duty as an imam? Just lead the salah, give the khutbah, okay? Teach the classes. Was it your duty to expose my marriage? I'm not bringing her to the masjid. I mean, my wife comes here, my other wife comes here, but what's the big deal? I don't understand. What's the harm in it?
The harm in it is that, Mubarak, you are a very handsome young man, all right? And you having this secret wife, right? You may not tell other women as well that you have other wives, right? So you're marrying her secret for a reason. So you could potentially, for all I know, you can have 5 wives, 10 wives, because you have the secret.
I was about to say.
So, yeah, go ahead.
No,
well, the next time y'all have a fundraiser, just don't call me.
Okay.
Don't call me, because
We won't.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Wives.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Amr. I was basically going to piggyback off what you were saying. Basically, it's the protection of each other's rights, people's rights. Like we touched on earlier. Why is it your business? Well, you come to the masjid. I'm the imam. I learned of a situation. I'm contacting you. I'm reaching out. Just get some clarity. Did you have witnesses? What was the skinny? You know what I mean? Like just getting some information to make sure that you're, keeping things together, to make sure that she's getting her rights are protected, and your rights are protected. I mean, I think that's a fair position.
All right. Well, okay. All right. Well, then I'll just say this. Listen,
you're going to take your money away?
Listen, if you want to talk to her, and ask if she's fine and whatever, did we have a real marriage or whatever, that's fine. But don't nobody need to know about this. She don't want nobody to know. I don't want nobody to know. I mean,
Did you have witnesses? Did you
Yeah,
have
yeah,
witnesses?
yeah. I had the witness and everything. Yeah, we got the witnesses, but
So
you know,
at that point, you point out how you're also protecting the community because it's the right for the community to know that you are a married man or that you have one or two wives or whatever it is, because marriages are public, and part of one of the conditions could determine, depending on which school or find out, but one of the conditions is that there's a public announcement of the marriage. And I'm going to make that public announcement, and that's we're going to announce it at Juma. Be ready.
Yeah, I was about to say, y'all brothers are real nice. I would be like, okay, number one, the first person I'm gonna call is your first wife. First of all, get her on the phone. Let's make sure that she knows, because if you've been married, you got married, so you have to let her know that she knows how her rights are changing or whatever. And so if you didn't do that, that's the first person that needs to be called, because that's probably the number one person that's being oppressed right now. If it's secret, she better know. If she doesn't know, and we are definitely going to make an announcement. Alhamdulillah to everybody, congratulate, the brother. He got married. He got married 8.5 months ago, but better late than never. He's married. He's got another wife. It's the lady that you see walking around the neighborhood over there. He's actually married to her. So you know what I mean. Now that you know she's off limits or whatever. But you should make it known, and he should really, if he has an issue with it, then it's like,
why?
You see, there's a big problem. If someone has a issue with you saying, "Hey, brother so and so is married to that sister right there," then that's an issue. So you gotta get exposure. So now, if you're the man of my shit, so what if you're just a brother who goes there? You're like, oh, I see you at the masjid all the time. I didn't know you had 4 wives. I mean, I know you had 2, but this other lady, I work with her at the, down the street, and she says she's married to you. So what's up? Oh yeah, well, yeah, I really didn't tell nobody, but I am married. So if you're just the kind of like a person, you're not a leader, you're not in the community, but you're just someone who comes to find out. Now, what do you do in that situation?
In that case, you take it to the imam and let them know, like, hey, I just found out Mubarak has a wife. She lives right over here. You need to deal with this, because it's not his response. Yeah, go ahead.
Is there any situation in which a person should keep the marriage secret?
I mean, I imagine that there possibly could be 1 or 2. I mean, I'm just for the sake of answering your question, there could possibly, but overall, the overarching, position is no. But again, if we search real hard, maybe through, the intergalactic, universe or something, or some type of, secret text, maybe we could find some possible reason. But
the general rule is, if you're in that position and, because this is something that is transgressing the rights of somebody, so it needs to be exposed, right? The only way you wouldn't in an individual's case is, one, if you don't have the power to do so, or like there's going to be some kind of negative repercussion where like it's going to affect you so negatively that, right, you shouldn't do it, right? Where the negatives outweigh the good in that situation, personally.
Mubarak,
right? That's like the general rule.
Mubarak actually touched on the one of the main reasons why you would want to make that situation public, because the first wife could be getting her rights abused or violated. However, let me ask y'all this, and then I know I don't want us to spend too much time on this, but let's say the first wife knows about the secret arrangement between the other 2. Is it still a secret even though she's aware? Would it still be a secret from the outside?
The secret applies to the Ummah. Doesn't know about it, right? There was no public announcement doing your due diligence to let the community know that this person is married. These 2 people are married, right? The community has a right to know that this man has X amount of wives, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, and that this woman is married to this man, right? Because like one of the rights is, for instance, like it's a sin for me to approach another man's wife for marriage. That's a big sin. But if I see the sister walking down the street, I'm like, oh shoot, hey, Umi, go talk to her. So I want to marry her. I have a right to know that she's married, right? Even engagements, like it's a sin for me to approach a man that is even, or not a man. Well, it's a sin for me to approach any man. It's a sin. It's a sin for a man to approach a woman that is being courted by another man.
Yep.
So like if Mubarak expressed interest in sister or Fulana, right? I can't go up behind him and be like, well, I know he asking about you, but yo, look at me. I gotta wait until Mubarak's done.
Well, unfortunately, brothers, that happens all the time. So,
so the bottom line is that as far as Yasir Qadhi, he's a very knowledgeable sheikh, and this is one example where just because someone is very knowledgeable doesn't mean they can't make mistakes. And it's very clear that he said, well, someone got a secret marriage, it's not a problem. No, it's a big problem. It's a huge problem, and he's wrong for making it light. Okay, that's a major issue. No one, especially someone in a position of power, should not be secretly marrying women, because that is an obvious place where abuse is going to take place. Whether it be physical, sexual, financial, social, and otherwise. She's walking around. Every woman wants to, that pride and that happiness of, yes, I have a husband. It's a source of pride for a woman. For her to have to walk around and pretend that she doesn't have a husband is ridiculous. So, Yasir Qadhi, that was wrong.
And just real quick, just thinking about this as from like a psychology term, is how common is it for Yasir Qadhi to know of this stuff where he mentions it in a video, and kind of just like glosses over it because it's so common for him. This is not something that this is oh my God, these shook that I know, these other famous people I know are doing secret marriages. It's like, oh, people with secret marriages and it was kind of a side point inside his video, right?
Yeah,
which I kind of understand, but he glossed over so fast, right? It's something that's just so common for him.
He mentioned it in the same light of like smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, it was like,
if they smoke
cigarettes, listen to music, secret marriages. It's like, bro, what? Like that's kind of a major thing. Like this isn't light, and this is what not saying he was doing this, but this is what happens when people rush to have clicks and views and headlines, right, for their channels. They just go out and start talking, right? And this probably wasn't the time, because I'm sure. Listen, if a year from now he might look back and say, "Dang, I probably should have just been quiet the whole time instead of coming out there."
We have our the odds of more information coming out related to secret marriages. Just remember, we said it here on November 13th that you'll probably be hearing some more information about so and so had a secret marriage with so and so.
Yeah.
So, and I would say, we'll take this opportunity to say, listen, any sister who's listening who either is in a secret marriage or knows of a secret marriage or knows someone who has proposed secret marriage, and if you think this is an issue, don't keep quiet about it. You can contact us with our email and contact information, and we'll try to help you, direct you and get you to the right people who can help. But a lot of people see some of these abuses and things going on, and they feel like, what can they do? They feel like they don't have any options. One thing that we can do is we can try to help you. If you email us or contact us, then we can help you. And people should come forward. You should come forward. And even if you want to come on and tell your story, we're not going to get into scandals and give people's names, but to make people aware of some of these situations so that people can, instead of people getting harmed continuously, hopefully we can help to mitigate and to stop some of these things from before they happen, instead of talking about it after the fact. So you can come forward and you can contact us, and we'll try to direct you to the places where you can get some help.
I mean. All right. So we have this statement here from this brother, and he put this out. This is his official statement on the whole allegations of Brother Wisam Sharif. And so we're gonna read this for you, and we're gonna break it down line by line as this goes on. Why they put it out, I don't know, but they felt the urge to share their thoughts. All that matter. All right. So we have a statement here from brother. I'm not gonna say his name.
First, real quick, before we even get into the details of the statement. The first thing that any leader should ask themselves about issuing a statement on something like this, on a scandal, is, should I release a statement? That's the first question you should ask. Should I release a statement? And if your answer is yes, the next question should be, why should I release a statement?
Yep.
Right. That should be the net. And if you don't have a good reason of why you should release a statement, then you shouldn't release a statement. Like, for instance, Wisam Sharif has nothing to do with R2F, right? Besides, I took one of his courses. Even if he was my best friend, right? I don't have to. R2F does not have to issue a official statement on the Wisam Sharif scandal, right? We don't have to issue a statement on it, even though we actually probably have more of a right to do so because we actually speak about spiritual abuse. That's our whole shtick, right?
So what are some reasons why a person would issue an official statement?
So
Maybe he's an employee of yours,
an employee, right?
Family
Associated with your institution, maybe.
Okay.
A representative.
Family
A
member
representative.
involved.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
If you are if you are a person who is continuously asked about, what you think or your thoughts or whatever. So sometimes you put out a press release. So let's listen. Everybody stop contacting me about it. This is my thoughts. Okay. Now everybody can just go to, the press release, my official statement. So I don't have to keep answering the questions. Now, if that's what the situation is where you're getting asked about it constantly, I understand. But if it's not for those reasons, then the other reasons could be
clickbait,
sensationalizing. Okay. You want to capitalize on the news front to bring more eyeballs to yourself. You want to somehow, use this as a vehicle to gain some traction, some fame, some notoriety, whatever. I really can't think of anything else, and that they're just more and more negative as far as why a person would release an official statement. If they're not being questioned about it, if they're not in a position of as an association with the person, in business with the person, this is an employee of yours, they did this under your umbrella, right?
Yep.
So if I did something, I streamed from the R2F account and I, said, something or did something or whatever, then, I went to jail. You guys would have to be like, okay, listen, this is our, statement, but, Mubarak, he was a rogue agent. He did whatever. Okay, right. I understand. But otherwise, I don't know of any other reason for a person to push out an official statement. If y'all know of any, please let me know. But I don't know.
No, there's not.
No,
there's not.
Just not really.
Otherwise, what you're doing is you're covering news and gossip under the guise of an official statement. That's really what it is. Like CNN, they get a headline, Trump did whatever, and they just cover the news to let everybody know, right?
Yep.
They don't, but if they say, oh, CNN releases official statement about Donald Trump being elected president, they don't have to release an official statement. They're just covering the news.
Yep. Doing their job.
And CNN does that. It's for monetary reasons. They cover the news so that you can come to the news. They sell the advertising, then they make money. So if it's for monetary reasons, that could be a person why someone puts out a statement to drive some, customers or something to whatever they're doing. I mean, like I said, the official statement, John, got me just scratching my head, honestly.
Yeah. It very much screams of like clout chasing, and we live in a society where people want to see others fall down so they can step on their backs and get higher. And they live for these moments. So if something happens to so-and-so, I'm going to see him fall on his knees. I'm going to step right on his back and propel myself hop forward. So this is unfortunately the era we live in, where people put their own wants and needs before others and let their emotions run wild. All right. So are we good to cover the article?
Yep.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. I am releasing this statement without citing verses from the Quran or authentic hadith, as this was done in my recent video and by other community leaders, students of knowledge, da'is, and scholars. I personally knew Wisam Sharif. In fact, there is a viral video of me surprising him at an event in Orlando, Florida, where we both headlined to raise money for orphans in Syria several years ago. This is not merely about a religious leader committing a sin.
So stop right there. And this is like mistake number one. Regarding if we're talking, remember we keep referring to our other videos on this about like when you're talking about this stuff, you have to be victim centric. You have to be victim oriented. right? So imagine this person is actually talking to a victim. Imagine this statement is being read by the alleged child that was involved in this situation. And this person saying, I knew him personally.
Me and him
I
are
got
boys.
a viral video with him. I got this and that. I got this and that. This victim's going to be like, they're going to,
Why are you here?
yeah, what are you talking? Why do I want to hear about all these good times you had with this person that abused me? Right?
Can I step in real quick? I'm sorry, I can't. I'm really trying. That's actually not mistake number one. Just want to correct you, Jaffa, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Mistake number one is him saying, whoever this brother is, saying that he's going to release this without citing any type of information from the text that we follow as Muslims. For you to leave that out, what is the point of you citing anything without any reference of where you're supposed to be going to get the references to even make a statement in the first place? Like you said, Yaffer, we don't want to hear about your good times you had. It was no reason to even put that in there. And if you're not citing sources that you need to be citing to touch on a topic of this magnitude, to back it up with some type of verses or, a hadith, what are you talking for?
Well,
what are you really
it's even, now that you bring it up, it's even deeper than that, because he does reference something, right? He makes it clear he's not referencing the Quran and Sunnah, but we use the Quran and Sunnah as references to what? Add solid foundation and bolster up our argument of what we're saying. But what does he reference instead? I know this famous person.
Personally.
That's what's giving me credibility. I'm letting y'all know that I know this famous person and we were cool together and I have viral videos with this person. Here's my support and here's my credibility.
Mm-hmm.
Now listen to what I got to say.
Yes.
So I'll say this. Number one, I think maybe the Allah knows best. The reason why no Quran and Sunnah was used is because you won't find any Quran or Sunnah to support anything that was said. Nothing that was said has any support for it. So you can't look for an ayah that or a hadith that tells you to do anything that follows.
Absolutely.
That's actually a good point.
And just real quickly, like this first few sentences here, I don't know what this is about. This seems to be about someone trying to inflate themselves and hype themselves up. Oh, listen, this famous person, I knew him, me and him are cool. And also I have this viral video and I did this and I raised money and I gave it to the children in Syria. This is like a fluff piece, glorifying this person to say, listen, look at how great I am. All the things I accomplished. All right.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. All right. This is not merely a religious leader committing a sin, falling into haram or making a mistake. In my 44 years as a Muslim, I have never witnessed such severe allegations. I am deeply saddened and equally angered by what I see as an unprecedented level of oppression, deceit, and evil in these allegations. If true, Wisam Sharif should face all...
Wait, real quick, pause right here.
All right.
And this is where, and maybe he is telling the truth that he, in his 44 years of being a Muslim, he has never heard of anything like this whatsoever. But I actually know it's not true, because the same person who wrote this grew up in the same cult that we all escaped from, where this crap happened to a whole bunch of people that we did interviews with, even himself.
Yep.
So to say that in my 44 years, I would never suspect that this could something like this could possibly happen, even though through my 44 years, I grew up with this happening all around me, with my parents, with my siblings, with my friends, with my cousins, with my neighbors, right? How much sexual abuse happened in the cult we were in? How many times was the Quran used to manipulate and abuse people?
Minors getting, all the elements and different things with people, young people, and all that stuff. Yeah, like this stuff. They can't.
So again, it goes back to Amar's point of, like, what he said about, it was Amr Mubarak about, let's sensationalize this. Right? It's bad enough as it is without us trying to make it worse by using flattery words or big words and different ways to make our mind. These allegations are bad enough. That's why we didn't go into detail with them. You guys could go look them up yourselves, right? We'll get the whole story when the whole story comes out. But to say that I've never imagine like this is what you do like when you're telling I was fishing and in my 45 years of being on this earth, I never had a fish on the line this big. It's a fish. And it got away. Like we all know that story.
And I mean, it's just like, and like I said, just the allegations, that's what they are. They are allegations. Allegations from, I wouldn't even say they're even from sources that are that credible. Yes,
They're not even from the victims.
Yeah. So it's a wild, situation. But at the end of the day, to say this is a friend of yours, and before having any other information, this is where you go. I mean, is that really your friend? Were you really friends? I mean, listen. I consider you guys to be friends of mine. Some of you are friends and family. But I would hope that if some allegations of any sort came out about me, that at the very least, you would wait until you knew, or until at least you talked to me.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I expect from a friend.
Yes.
And as a friend of any friends of mine, I'm just, if we're friends, or even if you're not friends, but definitely if we're friends, I'm not going to pile on. I'm not going to, to ride the scandal train or any of that stuff. But if something needs to be said because it needs to be said, from me, then of course, we'll say it. We'll say the truth when we know the truth and when everything comes out, when it's clear.
Yeah.
But, if these are friends, who needs enemies? Sheesh.
I'm about to say, Ed, you personally know this brother, and this is your course of action. It's not to, you don't even have to defend him. You could just be, as Mark said, just be quiet. Because you giving this statement here, this press release, is not moving the needle. All right. This is not helping him out or the victims, right? Because as Jafar mentioned, hey, listen, if you walk up to a girl who's been assaulted, say, listen, what happened to you was crazy, but me and the old boy go way back. That is my for like me and him, we're boys. So we used to hang out, football games, basketball games, something. But I'm sorry what happened to you. That's crazy. But me and him, viral moments and stuff like that. Team bros, like, nah, this isn't the time for that.
It's not needed. It was irrelevant information, and we can give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's just just sharing information or whatever. Maybe got carried away, but at the end of the day, it actually, some harm was done. Even do you realize that even in this country, the people that are in jail for murder and all types of crimes or whatever, they're treated in a humane way. They have some sort of rights, and they give them some. Now, people might say, well, you don't. But definitely a person who has been accused, just because someone's been accused of something, that's why we have the law in Islam and in this system where before the person has a right to a fair and speedy trial, with people of his peers and all that. It's so that, because guess what? Sometimes people are accused of things and it's not true. Now, what do we do? What can a person do? This person, what can you do to your friend when maybe it comes out that the story was different, or there's more information and you're like, oh, wow. Now what can you do? I know one thing for sure, you will have lost a friend for sure.
Absolutely.
Issue another statement.
Yeah, I guess so. If true, Wisam Sharif should face a lifetime ban from giving any dawah and should never be allowed to teach the book of Allah. The allegation that he used the pure Quran as a means to recklessly drive his sexual deviant vehicle on the playground of a minor child or niece and daughter is beyond comprehension. If this had been my biological daughter, I would be serving a life sentence in prison, praising the law, and probably doing my time with honor. All right.
Hold on. Okay, so not to mention that you say that you would actually commit a crime, probably. I guess assault at the very least, or murder,
by the way,
or murder at the worst, which is ridiculous. So I think everybody knows two wrongs don't make a right, or whatever the case may be. It's like, so you're basically in this official statement, you're talking about how you would commit a crime. That's ridiculous. But I mean, I'm trying to be fair. I'm trying to be fair, but it's not realistic. And so in Islam, right, and in the United States justice system, for all the people who love the great U.S. independent justice system, listen. We'll just use the legal system in this country, for instance. If a person commits murder or any type of crime or whatever, the penalty that they're given, whatever it is, however many years in jail or whatever they get, when they get out, allegedly, they are supposed to be
exonerated,
reformed. So whatever was in the past is supposed to be behind them. They don't get punished again, even though in this system you have a felony on your record and all that stuff. But even Islamically, if someone is punished Islamically for whatever their crime is, immediately after that crime, if a person steals, they get their hand cut off. Immediately after that, you don't just say, well, hey, this is his hand.
You can't go to the market no more. You can't. You're banned for life.
So here it is, a person that could possibly, let's just say if a person were to go to jail or be punished whatever way, and then they're still alive, okay, when they get out and they're free, and that's the skill that they have. But who are you to say a person can't teach the book of Allah?
Yeah.
Who are you to say that? If he has been done his crime, how? You think that people have been trying for 1,400 years to tarnish or do something to the book of Allah, and Allah said he will protect it. So if he's the person who can teach the book of Allah, then let him teach the book of Allah. And whoever wants to learn the book of Allah from him, then let them do it.
You know what?
He should never be, if he does his time and his crime and he's penalized, if that's the case, then after that, whoever is going to learn from him, go ahead and do it if he's knowledgeable.
And there's examples of this in our Western Ummah that we could look back, and I'm not going to say any names, but have been involved in scandals that have went on to like fix themselves, pay their dues or whatever, and go on and still benefit the Ummah by teaching the Quran and giving dawah and all these different things, right? We have examples of that. So like you said, for him to be the one to say like you should be banned, right, from this and that for allegations. And remember, these are still allegations, and we can't cast judgments and say this is what you should do. Again, it's just sensationalizing, and in a way, and all I'm getting from this message is I want people to pay attention to me and think look at the reaction he's getting, and I want people to really be impressed by the reaction I'm giving to this situation.
I was just about to say, I mean, this does not sound like something that's going to age well. I'm just going to be honest. It don't sound like something's going to age well. It's going to age well at all, because look at it on both angles. If he is in trouble, or if it is found out that he did all these things and blah, 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 you said whatever you said. So there's going to be no, like y'all said, if he does his time, comes out, blah, 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 it's still nothing. You didn't handle that situation correctly. Now, let's say he's innocent. You're going to have egg on your face. This message is not going to age very well. And you're also going to lose a friend and companion because you didn't give him his fair shake or fair due. And you just jumped the gun. So either way, it's a bad look, in my opinion. Absolutely. And you should have kept quiet, like Umar said.
Yep, because this is what happens when you, as a man, you act out of emotion, right? And I mentioned before we even got there about how, folks try to insert themselves into a scenario. And as he said, listen, if this had been my daughter, my biological kid, I would be in jail. You're not supposed to react emotionally. And it's terrible that this may have happened. This is allegations, right? But it didn't happen to your family, all right? So again, you need to remove yourself from this scenario and give an unbiased, all right, unemotional response to this topic, if you're going to respond at all. Which, as we all mentioned before, just be quiet, because you are not moving the needle. You're not moving the goalposts. So we don't need your response or your statement on this at all.
And I just want to mention real quick about because he's mentioned about the Wisam using the Quran to do his manipulation or whatever. If you're able to go read the report yourself, go ahead and read it yourself. I just want to make it clear that the allegation of Wisam actually allegedly using the Quran to do whatever he was accused of, that allegation was actually made by the other abusers. Right, it was actually made by the other person that was involved in the alleged abuse of the minor. So it's another, person that's actually not credible in the situation, because that person is trying to protect themselves from whatever is coming their way as well. So, yeah.
Absolutely. All right. I have reached out privately to several scholars and community leaders to discuss this and other pressing matters that will soon come to light. Only Dr. Umar Suleiman has responded. All scholars, shuyukhs, khatibs, and imams who have been on the payroll of El Maghrib Institute or who live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area must stand in front of a camera and affirm they have no knowledge of these actions. I do not want a kid. I don't know.
So I'll just say real quick, like, again, we have to pay attention to the victims in this case. And imagine this girl, I think I don't know if they said the age in the report, but I heard 10 years old, or whatever, this minor, this alleged minor in this situation. All these imams that are associated with Maghrib Institute and in Fort Worth, they're all going and making these videos and putting them online and talking about this situation where she's been abused in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's going to help this victim?
Not at all.
Seeing her situation replayed over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. You got to think. You got to think before you open your mouth.
Yes. If anything, it's going to help traumatize the person again, because she's going to keep reliving this traumatic experience of her life nonstop. All right. So this, and again, we mentioned earlier, listen, if you are not qualified to speak on certain things, be quiet. It's very simple to do. Like, no one's forcing you to speak. This brother always mentions to me about how, I don't really want to be in the public light. I don't want to talk that much. Then listen, brother, follow that. Be quiet, because you're not helping this at all. All right. If you're not a carpenter, don't go into a construction zone, try to build stuff. It's not your role. All right. Stick to what you're good at. It's very simple.
I tried to build a deck once. That joke lasted like 2 weeks.
Fell apart on you, huh, Chef? Affirmed they had no knowledge of these actions. I do not want a carefully crafted press release from your public relations departments, which may prioritize protecting your institutions over addressing this matter and sincerely confronting the community. I'm not interested in khutbahs, lectures given only because people want to hear about this, as too many of you are acting as news reporters rather than leaders taking a true stance against this alleged behavior. I mean, you're kind of accusing them of doing what you're doing. You literally, like, it's the pot calling the kettle black.
Well, this is the thing in these situations, like we mentioned, there's going to be people that are connected, like, really closely to the person in the scandal, right? That's people that work directly with him, right? That maybe go to a lot of lectures, maybe work part of his organization, or he works for their organization, which they're going to rush to disassociate themselves from it, right? Them rushing is a problem because they're going to release something that's going to actually be problematic, right? Then there's people that are going to rush to try to get notoriety by also condemning it. And this is what this person is doing. They're rushing to go condemn it and draw a line in the sand to, like, I'm on this side of it, right? Mm-hmm. And we can look at examples in what we're going through right now, right? People that, like, the conflict in Palestine has been going on for decades, right? And then now that it's like big news, you have people that will rush to, like, whether support Israel, support Palestine, usually support Israel because they don't want to lose their job or their money or whatever, right? Yeah. But they're just rushing to, like, go be on the side of something so that someone can label it like, oh, they're in the right. We don't want to be those people, right? You do want to have carefully calculated, thought about responses and how to address these situations, and not release emotional responses that could possibly be triggering and traumatizing not only to the victims involved in the scandal, but also other victims that have experienced similar things.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, again, don't act emotionally. Display the same energy, marketing, and social media posting as you do when you're posting one of your lectures. Do not get silent now. A lot is about to be released. Some of you are unaware of what's actually taking place. Brother, listen, how do you know this stuff? All right. And why are you mentioning this? Listen, I hate to tell this person this. Listen, you are not that important. All right. These people that you contact are more important than you are. So if you know about it, best believe that they know more than you. Because they didn't say, oh, so-and-so, let me talk to you about this. You contacted them. So they probably know more than you, we could assume. Just outright. Because your following, as big as it is, you're not on the level of these other popular youth. All right, they're more popular than you. You reach out to them for a reason. So humble yourself a little bit, right? You're not as big as you claim to be. Calm down.
And what does this statement sound like an official statement or more like propaganda teasers? Like, wait till what's coming out next episode. Like,
sounds like a more like a Facebook post than anything else. Like just like, you know, it's you know, just sensationalized. It's unfortunate. I would say that if you look at, you know, I would give him credit for at least trying to contact some Shariah, some people of knowledge about it before putting out the official statement. But I would say the lesson for us and for anyone who is listening that puts out official statements, or even if you make Facebook posts or whatever like this, post on Twitter or any social media, is that something like this, you probably should get the advice of any other person to say, hey, listen, I'm about to post this. What do you think? I mean, we do that all the time sometimes. We like, right? We say, sometimes like, man, I'm about to post this junk. What do you think? Like, I need to do that. Or, post that junk, right? So sometimes we do that. But that way, I guarantee you, if this press release was showed to two people with just even a little bit of Islamic knowledge, at least one of them, probably both of them, or any amount of people that read it and saw it, I guarantee you, if they did see it, no one said, hey, this is a great post, go ahead and put it out.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, no one with even a little bit of fear of Allah or taqwa. And I'm not saying this brother doesn't fear Allah. I'm saying you made a mistake.
Yeah.
But if you were to run it by someone else, they probably would have said, hey, take that down, or don't put that up. That ain't gonna fly. But what happened was, I guess the shuyukh that you contacted didn't answer or whatever, so just ran with it anyway. Bad work.
Yeah.
Bad
work. And that's what I was gonna say is, you reached out to all these shuyukh and only one responded. Maybe that's for a reason, and you should have took it as such. If they're talking about it, maybe you should, calm down a little bit. Wait to see how things play out. Don't be first to react. All right, you should have took some time to just think about it more.
The best advice I've heard so far is really just, if this is not your place, just be quiet, man. Just be quiet. Literally, it wasn't even that deep. It's not even that serious. You make yourself look a little foolish. You jumping ahead, jump the gun, and like I said, I don't think this is going to age well at all. You should have just kept quiet.
We're not reporters. We're not trying to get the scoop. Like that's not the business we're in, right? That's not how we do things as Muslims. Let's get the scoop.
Muslim TNT. Right? Allah. I praise Allah for Quran.com, a platform visited by over 300 million Muslims, for removing Wisam Sharif's voice from the word-for-word recitations. And then this is where he goes left field. All right. Ya Wisam, I swear by Allah, I would not want to stand before Allah with the sin of using the greatest, most preserved gift to us, the Quran, to allegedly molest, sexualize, abuse, or virtually rape a minor. You are a disgrace, and your affair is now between you and Allah. May Allah justice descend upon you.
Now, hold on.
Straight slander.
I was just about to say,
pure slander.
Hold on. Because in the beginning of the alleged statement or whatever, he stated that he was close, he was friends, and he had this relationship. And then, was that the last line right there, Amr?
Yep, last line.
Okay, so then in closing, complete 360, he, you know what I mean, condemns him. He's this, he swears by Allah, this, that, and the other. You're indicting the brother. The information hasn't even come to light. And this is supposed to be your friend, brother. You should treat this brother, if this is your friend, allegedly, which again, it doesn't sound like a friend to me. I mean, did you reach out to him? Did you contact him? You said you contact all these other shuyukh, but he's your close friend. Y'all went and took all these pictures and went to the mall and got some ice cream and all this stuff. Did you reach out to him? Because literally a few short lines after you said all that stuff about where you went with him and all this relationship you had, you just got finished pretty much throwing him in the trash can. And again, you should have just kept quiet because there was no reason for you to do that. There's still no reason for you to do that. And you don't have to say, I swear by Allah, wallahi, wallahi. That's not, again, Umar, like you said, you're not moving the needle, brother. You're just not. Sorry.
Yeah, so I think like people get the point, and it's just an example that we can learn from ourselves, because we're always going to learn, and we're going to make mistakes. But the bottom line is that we have to be very clear about responding to situations like this and how we respond, and make sure that we are doing it appropriately with knowledge and following to the best of our ability the Quran and Sunnah, and giving everybody their rights at the same time. We're going to start getting to some questions. The first question we have in the chat is, what would happen if a sister has been lied on by an imam who has published these lies and allowed them to be posted online? And a follow-up to that is he allowed to remain an imam? For example, if he has falsely stated that the sister was harassing. So basically, we have allegedly an imam that basically allegedly slandered a sister publicly. What would happen, and is that person still allowed to be an imam?
All right.
I think this person might be this person posted this thing like repeatedly. I think that's in the chat like several times.
Yep.
And I think they posted that question already. But
yeah, I would tell, we don't know the details of your situation. You can email us at emailr2f@gmail.com to get more things. But as far as like, is he allowed to be an imam? If let's just assume that an imam did slander somebody, I don't know of anything that says, oh, once you commit a sin, you're not allowed to be an imam anymore. It might affect his credibility as an imam or whatever, but there's nothing I'm not aware of that says, oh, once you commit this sin, you are barred from being an imam in a masjid anymore. But there are issues with if the imam is committing slander, and that should be addressed by maybe other people, other leaders in the community. Let's see. What other questions do we have? Not many questions, a lot of statements, I believe.
And some questions.
Let's see.
Marcellus Williams was convicted of rape. Was the Muslim community justified in vilifying him for doing every act before we learned of his innocence?
Say it again. Repeat that again, Umar.
Marcellus Williams was convicted of sexual assault, basically, or rape. Was the Muslim community justified in vilifying him for doing a horrific act before we learned of his innocence?
Well, that's a perfect example of like the situation we're in here now. So if a person is proven innocent, that's why as Muslims we don't just jump to conclusions. We look for evidence. There's a proper way to handle things Islamically, and we don't condemn somebody who is still in the allegation phase of something, but at the same time we don't discount the alleged victims in the situation by just making excuses for the alleged offender, or trying to sweep it under the rug. You have to try your best to remain balanced and do justice to both sides until things are actually proven and the story's final, pretty much. Because said, and I guess I don't know about this specific situation, but if this brother was proved innocent, then everybody pretty much slandered him by condemning him, and will be held accountable for that until they seek forgiveness.
Yep. And I'm going to say real quickly, listen, as Muslims, we have to stop trying to be accepted and have our image be portrayed in a certain light for the non-Muslims, because they're never going to portray us in a good light at all. Whenever you see Muslims represented in any form of media by the kuffar, it's never good. It's some Muslim sister who has her hijab on, and by episode 1, it's all the way off. Or it's some Muslim guy who's halfway upon his religion and he does alcohol and he's committing zina. So you can't really try to appease them to the extent that they do currently. All right, appease your Lord. That's who you should try to appease, not the kuffar, who by all means hate you. It doesn't matter. All right, they hate you, just period. So nip that in the bud.
Absolutely.
Let's see, any other comments?
Do we have any other questions in there?
Someone wanted to join, and I gave him
spamming the chat.
I gave him the link. People are having a whole debate here, mashallah. Having a whole Islamic debate in here about what you should or shouldn't do. So that's good. But yeah, I think we covered.
I think we covered everything.
Everything. Alhamdulillah.
Did you see any other questions in there, Mubarak, that you wanted to address?
Oh,
there was one guy who was talking about.
Oh, someone jumped on and jumped off.
Okay. Yeah, there was somebody talking about some fruity Joe, and then there was another guy had some question about Aisha. This guy Mike Malzahn, who is always in the comments saying different stuff. I don't know if he's just a full blown troll or is he really just asking questions because he wants to know. But yeah, he has the usual questions about the age of Aisha and stuff like that.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. We have Muhammad A. You're on the line. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for holding the show. This is the first time I'm aware of the show. You'll probably be seeing me as part of the audience more, but you know, I'm a little bit all over the place on this situation, and I'm hearing a lot of different things. I'm hearing, first of all, that, you know, we shouldn't make any assumptions right off the bat. We should give our Muslim brothers, you know, as excuses as much as you can. But, you know, I spoke to somebody that works in Child Protective Services, and they told me that if there's an FBI report, that this is serious evidence, that from what I understand, the FBI is not going to build their case regarding child abuse on nothing. Also, you know, it's like I said, it's the evidence. I read the FBI report. It's I mean, this stuff is in there. It's not, I don't know. And I don't know if it's made up or nothing like that, but it just, yeah, like I said, I'm a little bit confused on how to approach this. When I first called in the first time, you guys heard my kids, because I'm listening to you guys while I have my kids with me, right? Yeah. And I want my daughters to go to the masjid, to be part of the masjid. You know what I mean? I want them to have full access to the community like I did growing up. I came to the U.S. in 2001. My first day in school was 9/11, actually.
Oh, wow.
So I know the importance of the masjid. I understand that you need to have al-irshad from the masjid, that you know where you're going in your life, that direction, right? To give you a clear direction. Living in the United States, post 9/11, war on terror. I mean, they're pulling at us from every single angle, literally, right? Mm-hmm. And what this allegation can potentially do is completely destroy our image in the community, in my opinion. Our brother that just joined us actually has been arguing with me in the chat about the age of Aisha and when she got married to the Prophet Muhammad. So there's a whole narrative out there about, you know, a certain, let's just say there's a certain image that's portrayed about Muslims. And this type of behavior is not necessarily helping at the end of the day. So that's really this is what I wanted to say.
Yeah, so you touched on a few things, and one is the first thing you mentioned is about like the allegations and how to treat that, and like, you know, basically because it is being an FBI report. We got an echo here. Since it is being like an FBI report, and you know, like they do usually have strong evidence, but we still have to treat it as such, as that these are allegations and there's a pending case, and we just state the facts that there is a pending case going on with Wisam Sharif. The FBI has evidence against him. You can read the report; it's there. And the real thing to take from it, especially us, like you're a parent, I'm a parent, is what do we do to protect our children from falling in these same situations? Because dealing with the situation with Wisam Sharif, right, he's going to be found innocent or guilty or whatever. And even if, say, he's exonerated, there's still a chance that maybe he was guilty and he got off or something. There's always that possibility. But the real thing that we, as being outsiders of the situation, is that when we're dealing with our own family and ourselves and our own communities, is that we ensure that our leaders are, one, held accountable, that there's controls and safety measures put in place to protect, vulnerable people, which that could be children, women, even, I mean, men fall into these things as well. It's less likely, but it still happens as well, that we have to learn from these situations and make sure that they're not swept under the rug, or that, like you mentioned, one of the things that you mentioned, how, the Ummah, our reputation as Muslims in America, is going to take a hit because of stuff like this. And that fear right there is one of the things that kind of puts us in a situation as an Ummah that our leaders do tend to sweep these things under the rug because they're worried about the reputation of Islam. They're worried about looking like bad, backwards people that are like pedophiles or whatever. They're worried about all these different things. However, as much as our job to do is we got to protect the people, right? Allah is going to take care of Islam and his reputation of Islam, and the truth of Islam is going to spread no matter what we do, right?
Absolutely.
So,
and to add to what you was just saying, Jaffer, we got to tackle these situations head on. We can't be afraid to step up to the plate, even if we strike out. At the end of the day, we're human beings. The word of God is going to be preserved. We are not needed to preserve his word. We have to just do what's right. We have to do what's right, and we have to get in front of these type of situations and defend the honor of the deen. But at the same time, we don't just let anything occur and then sweep it under the rug for the sake of the institution or organization. I mean, we can talk about this stuff for days because, once again, we're not speaking out of our backsides. We have actual experience with sexual abuse, spiritual abuse, all type of physical abuse, financial abuse from the cult that we came from as Muslims. And so we have our hearts are a little bit heavy when it comes to this, but like Brother Jaffer just said, we have to be fair and measured and be careful not to jump the gun too soon. While I do agree with the brother, what's your name, Muhammad?
Yes, sir, Mohammed. Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree about the FBI. Typically, if people do know or have experience with the FBI, they take a long time to build up their case, and they make sure that their stuff is solid before they come at you. But we're still Muslims, we're still Muslims, and we have to be fair and measured and make sure that we're given that balance when it comes to these situations and not jumping out in front too soon and just kind of staying measured. So we're trying to do the best we can with that. And it's not an easy situation. It's a slippery slope. But like Jaffer said, everybody keeps sweeping this stuff under the rug for fear that it's going to give this bad image. Imagine if you jumped out in front of it. Imagine if there were more defenders in the deen at the highest heights of situations like this. That would actually cast a better light on the Ummah, because it's going to be, that would give a stronger, will to the situation versus everybody worrying about their fame or their subscriber count or this, that, and the other. I think it's silly and it shouldn't be done.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. And really, Islam is going to be fine. All right. There has been numerous instances throughout the history of time where Islam has been on some people say the brink of extinction, right? Genghis Khan, the Mongols, they come in and kill all the Muslims. They sack Baghdad, throw it into the river. Listen, Islam will preserve, it will persevere through all this stuff, right? And if these people who are facing these allegations, if they're guilty, right, this is a good thing for us because we can cleanse our community from these bad people, from these people who are doing these heinous crimes. It's not good for us to have them in our community. It doesn't. That actually hurts us more because if you're nobody eternally, you're hiding it more. It's more of a dang, like Brother Fulan is accused of this stuff, but I'm gonna be silent. No. He is hurting your community. All right, cleanse your community. All right, don't let the bad apple poison all the other apples. Don't do that. Just if it falls off the tree, alhamdulillah, we are now safe from having bad apples on our tree. That's kind of the goal. The goal is to have good Muslims in your community, not to harbor people doing these heinous acts because we're not gonna talk about him being this murderer. No, that's not how it works. This is not how it works.
All right, we appreciate you, Muhammad. Thank you for coming on. I'm going to put you backstage, and we're going to get to our next brother. Is Mike? Mike Malzahn. You have the question?
Hey, yeah. While I was in the chat, and somebody on the panel mentioned me. So I guess one of my comments was, you guys mentioned this girl might, or someone involved might have been 10, and she would be a minor. And so I said, well, I thought Aisha was considered an adult at age 9 when Muhammad married her. The Muslims I normally talk to say, yes, if a girl has, begun her menses and is mentally mature enough at age 9, she's considered an adult. Is that not your guys' interpretation of Islamic law?
Yeah, a woman, a female who reaches puberty, starts her menses, or a male who reaches puberty and he starts to, go through what men go through during puberty, then they become an adult physically. Um, but also, what factors into that, as far as, and I think the question you're interested in, as far as marriage and legal things like that, there's a maturity factor that also goes into play, where even if a person is, they could be, the size of Shaquille O'Neal, but if, mentally they are not mature enough, then they're not going to be treated as an adult. So there's both those factor in, but to answer your question bluntly and plainly, yes, any human being, because we were created by God. God created us to make a transition from children into adulthood. There's no middle period where God says, okay, you're in some sort of stage that's in between being an adult and being a child. So once you cross that threshold that God created for us, which is puberty, where then we can produce children, then you are considered an adult physically.
All right, let me jump in here real quick. Let me jump in here just to add a little bit of context, Mike. So the marriage that you're referring to with Prophet Muhammad SAW marrying Aisha, this is actually a special case. We actually have high reverence for Prophet Muhammad SAW. This is not a case where any Joe Blow can just do X, Y, and Z. This is a very special case, and it has context behind it. So of course, I don't know how familiar you are with the actual story or the context behind that marriage, but it wasn't a situation where he just married this premature child and then started to have intercourse with her. No, it actually did not go like this at all. And so just wanted to give that context, for those situations.
Right.
Well, actually, hold up. Let me. I'm sorry. No, actually, it's not a special case. I'm sorry. It's not a special case. Yeah. Any woman who wants to get married, who is an adult, Islamically, if she has the permission of her father or her guardian, or if the state is her guardian or whatever, and they deem her to be mentally fit, and she's actually a woman, she is puberty, whatever age that might be at, if it's 9 or 90 or anywhere in between, any woman on the face of the earth, if she wants to be married, once she becomes a woman and she's mentally sound, she can do it. So that's Islamically, that's the position.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this real quick, Mubarak. Did Prophet Muhammad SAW have 9 wives? How many wives did he have at one time? Just correct me if I'm wrong.
He had up to 9, yes.
Okay, so let me walk that back a little bit. What I'm talking about is he had situations that occurred during his lifetime that some of us may not be able to, So for instance, we can only marry 4 women. We can only marry 4.
Yeah, but the question he asked is not special. It's not special. It's the same for everyone. That's the same. Any person, if there are an adult physically, and the mental capacity is there, and the guardian, the person who cares the most about them, the people who raise them and care for them and know them well, deem them fit to marry, then as an adult who has reached puberty, they can marry.
Yes, and just to piggyback, there's a story. One of the companions of Prophet Muhammad, right, Amr ibn al-As, right, he got married at 11 years old and was a father at 12. So this isn't some like random occurrence. These things happen because maturity is, again, puberty. You're adult. So Amr ibn al-As, he's a father at 12 years old. It's not like he's like, oh, I don't know what's going on. No, he's a whole father. So this isn't some random thing. Yeah. This happened all the time.
Did that answer your question, Mike?
Yes, it did. So
Okay.
you guys agree there's no such thing as adolescence. You go from childhood to adulthood.
Well, I guess if we put it in terms of
Wally.
adolescence, I think if we put it in terms of like the terms we use now to kind of define things, I guess and this is just my personal opinion, if you wanted to assign adolescence to something, Islamically, in my opinion, again, adolescence would be when someone reaches physical adulthood, like puberty, but they haven't reached mental capacity as adulthood. That'd be the only like thing you consider as like a intermediary stage where like, okay, physically they maybe hit puberty because some people hit puberty really early. Maybe they hit that like 8 or 9, but they're still a child mentally and not actually capable of taking care of themselves, giving consent and those types of things. But those terms don't really like we use. That's one of the problems when we talk about these subjects is we use terms like adult, but when we're thinking about it as Americans, we're really thinking about age of consent for sex, right? Because like, what is an adult when we use it in different terms as far as like, okay, what's the age of adulthood? Some person will say, oh, when you're 18, you're an adult. Okay, can adults drink alcohol? Oh, no, they can't. You're not an adult yet. Like, but you can go to war and fight. Like, we use this ambiguous term as adult, whereas in Islam, we have very specific terms that mean specific things and have specific conditions. And as Mubarak laid out, there's specific conditions that register you as an adult. And once you are an adult, according to Islam, you can get married. And the only way that, as far as consent, consent only happens through marriage. Sexual consent happens through marriage. Whereas in Western society, we don't have the concept of tying consent with marriage. So, that's kind of like we can't use not modern day ambiguous American or Westernized terms and then transpose them back onto Islamic standards. Islam is beautiful that way, where there's specific criteria and standards for the terms we use and the rulings that we come up with, where it's not the same in nowadays talks on these subjects.
Sure, understood. Okay, and if I can maybe get into, you guys were talking about the FBI, and yeah, they usually don't bring charges until they got the case pretty locked up. But under Sharia, how would you prove this case? 24:2 says you need 4 witnesses for fornications, and you have the stoning of adulterers in the 82nd book of Bukhari.
Okay.
And, confession, self-confession of 4 witnesses or pregnancy. Muslims often leave pregnancy out for some reason. But there's obviously not going to be 4 witnesses to this, right?
So it seems like you've done some, I guess, research or whatever. So that's good. But to prove the case, it's not the same, because like if there is a, for instance, a witness, okay, or a victim, the victim comes forward and says, I was victimized by so and so. In that case, there's not the 4 witnesses is not relevant, because you have a person who was a party in this, and so then it just goes about proving as far as the evidence, which if you have audio, video, physical evidence, DNA, whatever you might use for that. Now, that 4 witnesses and those type of things has to do with if a third party sees something and they just want to alert the authorities, hey, I think I saw someone, fornicating over there. For that person to go do that, they would need the 4 witnesses. But that's still that is in the case of fornication, 2 consenting people. In the case where a crime is being committed, where you have a person who's being assaulted, that's different, because you're saying, hey, I need some, maybe they're asking for help, or they're saying, I think this person is being assaulted over there. So that's a situation where someone's being harmed actually, and they're not consenting to the activity, and so the police or whoever needs to stop that person. That person should not say, because they see a crime happening, that I can't say anything because I don't have 4 witnesses. No, if a child is being abused or if adult is being abused, still that person doesn't have to wait to get 4 witnesses in order to alert the authorities. That's only if, for instance, you see, two consenting adults, maybe you know that they're not supposed to be sleeping together, and you say, well, I'm going to go and just tell. In that instance, a person, because technically spiritually there's harm there, but physically, legally, those people are not harming anyone else. They're engaging in activity that might be immoral. But for that instance, yes, you need 4 witnesses. But for a crime, for someone who's being harmed, and if you don't say anything, then that person would continue to be further harmed. And so we have the hadith, and I know you mentioned some hadiths and you do some research in the Quran, so I'm sure maybe you've come across the hadith where Rasulullah ﷺ tells us, when you see a wrong happening, the first thing you do is stop it with your hands. Second thing, the lower level is to speak out against it. And the third level is just to hate it in your heart. So, we have that. So it's not an issue where you just wait for 4 witnesses whenever. There's nuance there.
And just real quick for the audience. Go ahead, Mike.
I'm also more speaking, not that it's physically happening at the time, but I could have swore somebody told me there was a hadith once where a woman said, this guy over here raped me. And they were about to stone that guy to death when another guy stood up and said, wait, it wasn't him, it was me. And then they stoned the actual rapist to death. In the case of like rape,
that seems like a fabrication.
Okay. Yeah, I can't remember the number of what book it was in.
Yeah.
But like Islam QA, I don't know if you get.
Yep. If you after we get done with this, if you have any other questions, you can, if you find your sources, you can actually email us too, and we can continue the conversation. We're happy to do that. But if do you have any other questions? Because we're going to wrap up in a couple of minutes, but we would like to continue the conversation as well, because this is stuff that people need to know. Because I just wanted to tell the audience the stuff that you're asking. We'll actually see people, Muslims in the Ummah, using these types of things, but twisting them in a way to defend the offender. We'll actually see people say, "Oh, you can't accuse them. We need 4 witnesses." You'll actually see people like, "Well, she's 10. She's of age of consent," and all. We'll actually see this play out in like comment sections of the videos, and it's sad to see, because at the end of the day, like Mubarak said, a crime is being committed. Someone was being abused. Someone was violated, and we'll have people trying to justify this and defend this, and that's the sad thing that we will see.
Okay, yeah, I'll email you guys. Great, thank you for your time, gentlemen.
All right, we appreciate it, Mike. Thank you for joining us.
Mike.
And you're welcome to come on anytime.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
All right, I'm gonna put Mike backstage. Thank you for joining us. So that's it for our show tonight. We went 2.5 hours. It's like an old school show, but it was needed. I think it was needed. We're gonna edit this, and we're gonna put out some clips. Please support. We just wanted to say to any of the victims that are listening, there's resources in the description if you need to report something to somebody to protect yourself or to protect somebody else. Adults, if you have been a victim of any type of spiritual abuse, whether it be financial, physical, sexual, just regular spiritual, or involved in a cult or anything like that, and you want to tell your story, contact us. We can't tell you how important it is to speak about your experiences, because it gives courage and strength to others that are actually facing similar things that you have went through. And it will help protect them and help them stand up and get themselves out of an abusive situation. Ourselves, we were part of a cult that people were experiencing all these different things we're talking about. And we decided to get together. Alhamdulillah, Allah put us together by chance, and we just started speaking about it. And because of that, hundreds and hundreds of people have actually left the cult that we used to be a part of. Okay, so we encourage you to contact us. Email us at r2f@gmail.com. We appreciate you guys joining us. Thank you. Anybody else have any last words? Go ahead and say them, and then we'll sign off. Go ahead. Anybody? Nobody? Good? You want to close us out, Amr?
Yes.
Oh.
Lord?
No, we're good. I was just giving a thumbs up.
All right. Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-azim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Oh, who's that? We got one more question.
Here we go.
It says, Is Lahut Ramakan still in Pakistan? Yes, it is.
It's probably
Assalamu alaikum.
Or-
Thanks, Lord.
I knew it. I just knew it.